And Miami, just the second 8 seed to make the NBA Finals since seeding began in 1984. They joined the 1999 Knicks. New York took the Spurs, ran into the Spurs, I should say, and lost in 5. Heat back in the Finals for the second time in the last 4 years. Coach Spo told you after they let Game 6 get away, oh no, we're going to go win in 7. And they did.
Erik, sometimes it's about more than just a game or a series, but sort of a way. And the way the season went with the close games, the play-in game till the fourth quarter, the first round, can you just sort of, is it possible to encapsulate the run that has delivered you to the NBA Finals?
I'll get to that. Let me first say this about Boston. I mentioned it out there to Ernie, but we tip our hat to the Celtics organization. They are first class. Pat feels a certain way about Boston, so I make sure that everybody feels a certain way about Boston. That's part of my job as the caretaker. With that said, there's great respect for them as competitors, and they are first class. You look across the way, just in terms of their ownership group, and Brad and Joe and his coaching staff, they're good people, and they're a class organization. And what happened last year, obviously was on our mind, and it drove us this year. And that's what you always hope for competition, that it can drive you to a higher level. And I think that's what you saw in this series this year, to be able to have to overcome a lot of stuff. And in terms of answering your question, look, I think probably people can relate to this team. Their life is hard. Professional sports is just kind of a reflection sometimes of life, that things don't always go your way. And the inevitable setbacks happen, and it's how you deal with that collectively. There's a lot of different ways that it can go. It can sap your spirit. It can take a team down for whatever reason. With this group, it steeled us and made us closer, made us tougher, and these are lessons that hopefully we can pass along to our children. That you can develop this fortitude, and sometimes you have to suffer, for the things that you want. And Game 6, the only thing that we could do is sometimes you have to laugh at the things that make you cry. We did so many things right. I think from a metric standpoint, we did everything the best that we did all of the playoffs. Our defensive activity numbers, our rotations, the extra efforts, the pursuits on the offensive glass, 5 turnovers. We felt like we did all the right things. We had our, season high numbers of attacks, and then to come up short, that could puncture a team spirit. But instead, that just drove us to more resolve to try to get the job done. I definitely noticed it after the Atlanta game, the next day in the film session, how badly this team wanted to keep this season going. And then I felt the exact same way yesterday when we met after our flight. Everybody got to get everything out of their system from the night before, and then we just focused on rallying around each other and focusing on the next task. And we have some incredible competitors in that locker room. They love the challenge. They love putting themselves out there in front of everybody, open to criticism, open to everything, but to compete for it. And that's a beautiful thing. We know we have more work to do, but damn, is this hard. It is hard. It's hard business, and it's hard to survive 3 rounds just to get to that final round. We're extremely grateful for that. We're not even going to think about this next round until we get to Denver. And I wanted everybody to acknowledge just how difficult it is, and to enjoy this moment. It's the longer you're around in this business, you realize the harder and harder it is to do something like this. It's a special group. So we'll definitely take this, and it's poetic justice, to be able to get it on this court. Tough tough environment. We'll celebrate a little bit tonight on that plane to Denver, and then we'll get on to that next challenge.
Caleb.
That was awesome sound. That's really, really insightful. It takes you into the mind and the challenge and the Heat culture that so much is described. I think you heard it all encapsulated right there from Coach Spoelstra. And this is elite company where he finds himself, legendary names. And I think early on it was LeBron and Wade and Bosh, and he's just the guy that's sort of along for the ride.